Over the years, I have fallen in love with DIYing instead of buying high-end home decor. That doesn't mean I don't still have expensive taste, but I definitely want to do it on a budget. So come along today, I've got a fresh new round of dupes for you for your home. It will help you get that high-end look for much less. A huge thank you to Craftsy for sponsoring today's video. You're watching Whiskey and Whit. My name is Whitney, and a huge welcome back to my whiskey craft buddies who are here each and every week to DIY with me. If you love all things DIY, budget home decor, shopping hauls, all the things, be sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss a future Whiskey and Whit video. Now let's get into the dupes. Instead of having wreaths on your door for decor, so many places have these floral baskets. So I headed to Michael's to grab myself a basket. They have so many different options in their spring floral section right now, and all their florals were on sale. So I grabbed a ton of different options that I liked, and I came home and got to work. Now, some of my best tips for it is one, just do what you feel. Pick colors that you like and kind of mess with it till it gets where you like it. What I decided to do as well is to cut apart some of the white ones and then kind of bend the stem of the orange picks, because then I can use those orange picks again, but it helps me get them in there. Also, you want to make sure that you kind of have a unified height. So I added everything and realized those orange ones were way too big. So I pushed some of them down, I cut some of the branches off, and then I also pulled off some of the leaves. Definitely edit as you go, and then it was much more uniform how I wanted it. I love this basket. Everything here is from Michael's. I will link all my supplies down below, but I love how this turned out. It is perfect for summer, and not only is it great on a door, but you can just set it up as like a vase basket or hang it on a wall in your home. That's where this one's gonna live for me. I also loved that one so much that I redid a basket I already had into a lemon piece for my front door. This is so cute, so quick and easy, and I used a ton of florals I already had in my house for this one, so free or cheap. There's some about white and blue for summertime decor that I love, but the vases, we know, the vases at high-end places are crazy. So this one I'm so excited about because I actually grabbed this vase out of my donate pile before it went to the store to be donated, and I decided to spray paint it with white, and then I had some of these napkins left over from an Easter project, but I got them at Home Goods, and I saw some very similar the last time I was there a couple weeks ago. So all you need to do is take your napkin or tissue paper, you could do that with tissue paper as well, and you're going to cut out the images of what you want. Make sure you get rid of the thickness. So this is a 3-ply napkin. I peeled off 2 of the pieces, leaving just the blue parts. And then I'm going to use this Maker's Magic from Scorch Marker. So the last time that I shared this, a lot of people were like, you could just use Mod Podge, and that's totally right. But I find for decoupage, this stuff is magic. So I would definitely recommend it. Yes, it's more expensive than Mod Podge, but it goes on so much better. And when you're decoupaging, I like the consistency. It's more of like a wet liquid versus a thick glue. And I think the overall sealant at the end is better too. So that's just my 2 cents, but you could definitely use Mod Podge. I worked my way all the way around the vase with the bigger pieces, filled it in with some of the smaller ones, and then I just used some scraps for the top rim and the handles because that's areas you're not looking at too closely. I did a full extra coat of the Maker's Magic across the top of it, let it sit overnight, and I am obsessed with this, you guys. It looks so good, and that is one of the things I'm trying this year is to find items in my house. So this was essentially free. It was all stuff I already had. So if you've been eyeing those real florals in the vase and thinking, Whitney, how'd you get them arranged like that? Well, it's because I finally stopped winging it and I took a floral design class on Craftsy, who is the sponsor of today's video. Craftsy is such a gem for creatives like us, and that is why I love sharing them time and time again with my craft buddies. Craftsy is an online community with over 2,000 classes, and I've dabbled in everything on Craftsy, from embroidery to gardening to hand lettering, and now you've guessed it, floral design. I just took the class Flower Arranging with Christina Stemble and Rhiannon Smith, and it turns out I've been doing it all wrong. I understand now balance, shape, and the best kept secret. You make a bouquet and then you put that in the water. It seems so simple, but it made it look so much better, and my mind was blown. Each class is broken into short step-by-step lessons, which is perfect for nap time or while I'm waiting for my glue gun to heat up. And you can rewatch your favorites anytime, like I do with Startup Library, Hand Embroidery with Kat McTee. Do you want to make a stunning centerpiece or level up your crafty skills in something else like crochet, knitting, painting, cake decorating, woodworking, and more? Well, Craftsy has you covered. The first 1,000 craft buddies to click the link in the description will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. This is valid for new members only, and be sure to grab the deal before it's gone. The craft buddies always grab this one so fast when I offer it, so be sure to get it if you're interested. As this video is going up, we are on the cusp of Memorial Day weekend here in the States, and I wanted to add a little bit of Patriotic into this video. I loved this runner, but it is just insane sometimes when you look at those prices. So instead, I grabbed an $8 runner from Hobby Lobby. You can get these literally anywhere, or maybe even repurpose something you have. I folded it in half, and then I cut a piece of painter's tape in half. I'm using 1-inch painter's tape. I'm using that to give myself half of the width of the painter's tape from the center. This was the easiest way for me to find the center. And then with that marked, I am going to go through with that 1-inch painter's tape and mark a straight line. Then that way I have basically the middle split, and then it's a lot easier to find where my second piece of tape needs to go here in a second. Also, if you like that little nifty tool on my tape, it's called a tape cap. It's on Amazon. I love that thing. It's so nice for masking tape, painter's tape. It makes a straight line when you go to rip it. So then using a piece of that 1-inch tape to line up and get everything where it needs to go, I'm using it as a spacer. I'm going to tape a second line. Now we're going to use some white chalk paint as well as a disposable face sponge, and this is going to allow us to dab on paint. The reason I did the makeup sponge is so that it looked like it was just colored thread to make the runner, which is what it looks like in the Pottery Barn inspiration. And if I used a paintbrush, I was afraid that it was going to get too much in there and it was just going to look goopy. When the white was dry, I removed the tape, and then I took one of the pieces because it was not as tacky anymore. I put that over the white strip, and then I use some additional tape to create the space on either side, just like I did to create the white stripe. So then that way I've got 2 taped off stripes on either side. The piece of tape in the center is what is going to cover the white, so then that way you can put your red and your blue. Once I got that all squared away, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go through with blue paint and red paint. It doesn't matter what side you put it on because you can line up your runner either way, but I did, from how I'm looking at it, blue at the top and red on the bottom. When you're done, let it dry, and then you can remove the tape. So if you want this to be able to be washed, like if you're going to use it at a food party and there's probably going to be something that gets on it, I would recommend fabric paint. This is just going to be used either on my table or on my little coffee table here in our front room, so I felt like the paint was absolutely fine. But if you want to be able to throw it in the washing machine, you definitely want to use some sort of fabric safe paint. Now for my little Americana setup here, I grabbed some plates from the spring section at Hobby Lobby. Walmart has similar ones too. I love melamine for the summer because you can have it on the deck by the pool and it's not going to break. And then I also grabbed some of these fun glasses from the Better Homes and Gardens line at Walmart. They had blue and green, so I grabbed blue for summer, and then I grabbed some green ones for fall to go with that tablescape just to put them away. And I also grabbed this chip and dip container. They also had green bowls, and on the other side of the setup, kind of right in the front at your Walmart in the seasonal section, they also had this other line which had a lot more bright, bold colors, citrus if you're into that. So Walmart has a ton of great options this year. I will link more info down below and links of products that I'm loving from Walmart. Then all I needed to do was add some flags into my hydrangeas. You can put it in a regular vase, or it goes really well with the one we made earlier. And then if you're looking for something a little less red, white, and blue, a little more understated, I grabbed these pillar candles and lanterns from Dollar Tree. The nice thing is the shape is very similar to these Pottery Barn ones. They are much smaller, but they work for a table setup just fine. So for $8, I got 2 of those, and then for $8 in the candle, 16 bucks, it's a nice little setup. I added a little Walmart faux baby's breath. You can have a flag or remove the flag, and this has a really nice glow as well if you are looking to entertain like in the dusk or nighttime this summer. These are definitely going to let off a great vibe. Now, what about those books holding up the vase in my setup? I love giving height to my setups, and these are another dupe. My friend Courtney at Creative on the Cheap did one of these in her dupes video a while back, and I thought these would be great for the Americana setup and beyond. So I was able to find some fabric that matched the Pottery Barn inspiration, as well as some books at Dollar Tree. I love Dollar Tree books for so many different reasons. You just want to make sure you get some hardcover ones, or you could repurpose ones you've already got at your house. I am going to use some hot glue and some of the fabric. You can wrap 2 books if they are the size of mine with 1 piece of Dollar Tree fabric, or you can get fabric elsewhere. Also, guys, where are we buying our fabric now that Joann is going out of business? Because I am so sad. That's where I got all my fabric. I know you can shop at Hobby Lobby, but like, is there another store that has fabric? Is there an online place? You let me know, especially you quilters and things, craft buddies. Let me know where are we getting the fabric. Anyway, I digress. I'm gluing around just kind of like old school, like how we would wrap our books back in the day. Usually you'd use paper, but it's the same concept. And I shoved a little bit of scrap fabric in the spine of the book to cover up the wording because some of it showed through. Then I'm just going to wrap the edges, and that is about it. I didn't do it super clean because as I was gluing it, the books are going to be shut. They don't need to be opened or anything. You really just want the spine to look good. I made sure there wasn't any like glue strings or fraying, but the last step was to cut the little slit on either side and glue down that little spine piece, and then these were good to go. You can display them as the inspiration all in a row, and this is just because of my filming lights that you can see, but I promise you aren't able to see the name of the book when they're displayed. And like I said, they're great for adding height. They're great for kind of working as a tray. I really like them here on this shelf with our little willow tree family figurines. Shannon from the Daily DIYer got me the little brother setup, and then I was able to thrift the mom and dad, so this is one of my favorite corners. I'm always looking for fun ways to be on trend with frames, but not having to spend a ton of money because a lot of times the trends change. So I was inspired by the textured ones at Pottery Barn, West Elm, Kirkland's, a lot of the high-end places. And I just went to Dollar Tree and found some items with texture. You can also do this with their mirrors. I started by removing the glass and the back little kickstand and just left the frames. I'm going to spray paint them black, and then we are going to add a really pretty metallic finish. For this part of the process, you're definitely going to want to put on some gloves because it gets a little messy, and I also think the gloves really help with application. I put a little bit of antique gold rub and buff in between my pointer finger and my thumb, and I rub it all around. It's really going to bring out that different texture of the frames that you grabbed, and I really like the black as a background. You don't have to do black, but I loved how this turned out at Christmas, so I decided to do some everyday ones. I've got a free printable pack over in my free file library with these vintage prints, so if you're interested in that, you can head over there. All the details are down in the description. And then I popped them into the frame without the glass. I put the glass behind, and that makes it really look matte and like a piece of art versus just a printed out picture in the frame. I also love the one that looked like bamboo, and I popped a family picture in there. I'm trying to get Henry and more frames in our house. Life's been crazy, but this is a little win. We're outside of my garage because for this next project, we are going to dupe a very expensive looking noodle bench. So if you haven't seen one of these, it's like a rustic bench. I made one of these a couple years ago, and it is in my living room. And now we've got an open area in our dining room that I want to fill with just some functional decor. So I went to the hardware store. I grabbed both a 2x6x8, so that is 2 inches thick, 6 inches wide, and 8 inches long, and then also a 2x4 4x8. If you are new to wood building, you're definitely going to want to check out my new to wood building video. I've got a ton of tips and tricks, everything from picking out your wood all the way through to finishing. It is very helpful if you're a beginner, so be sure to check that out if you want to go further in depth. I'm going to start by measuring my 2x6 and cutting it in half, which gives me approximately 4-foot sections. Might be a little less, but it's about 4 feet for each piece. Then I'm going to measure 22.5 inches for my legs, and then I'm going to cut at a 10-degree miter. Now on your saw, there's going to be a way that you can change your blade miter here. There's usually two different ways that you can do it, but here we are going to do a straight cut at an angle. So I am adjusting this to 10 degrees here, and don't mind my dirty saw. My husband used this for planter boxes right before me, so I didn't have a chance to clean it up. Then my issue was my 2x4x8 was really long, and so I got myself another table because I wanted to make sure that I was safe and my wood wouldn't jiggle around. So I put my extra piece of 2x6 and then just a scrap piece of wood. Then that way that held that up and kept my hands safe. I cut my 22.5-inch piece, and then it was time to take 10 degrees off the other end because that just helps the legs sit flat. My saw has a light, as you can see here, and that helped me just quickly take the edge off. Once I cut 4 legs to 22.5 inches, I also cut 2 pieces with 10-degree perpendicular miters at 8.5 inches. So here's your cut list. You've got 2 2x6 pieces cut to approximately 4 feet, so 48 inches. Then we've got 4 legs with 10-degree parallel miters at 22.5 inches. And then we've got 2 braces at 8.5 inches with perpendicular cuts. And you'll see why we need those as we assemble. Now, I like to assemble with pocket holes with a Kreg jig. If you don't have this, you can take construction screws, self-tapping screws, and go right through the seat or right through the outside. I just like that this helps hide them. Also, you don't need this big Kreg jig. I have a smaller one that I used for my other bench, which I will link down below for you if you would rather do the $30 route. This one is more expensive, but my brother had an old one that he gave to me. Thank you, Reed. And it allows me to make quicker work of things, but you definitely can do it with the smaller one. I'm adding 4 holes to those braces on the bottom side, then 2 holes to my legs, and then I did about 6 across my one piece of 2x6 so I could put these together. Another option is you could get a 2x10, 2x12, so then that way you don't have to put these together, but I liked that the 2 pieces kind of pocket holed together looked like the inspiration. So I did 1.5-inch pocket holes, and I'm doing 2.25-inch pocket hole screws to hook them together, and I've got 5 across here. Now I like to clamp the piece down and use some counter pressure to make sure that everything lines up, but what it's going to do is it's going to go in, it's going to push it apart, and then it's going to suck it in. The first time I used pocket holes and pocket hole screws, when it pushed it apart, I was like, I'm breaking it, I'm doing it wrong. It kicks it out and pulls it back in, so just something to keep in mind. Then once my seat to my bench was put together, I used a screw in my drill and went at an angle on the edge. This is going to help me really start to distress this to look like the inspiration. I saw somebody on TikTok do this and I was like, this is genius. I'm going to try this. And it's basically like using a little wedge to make your wood look reclaimed. Pine is a really soft wood, and so this is easy to do. Another thing I did once I got my edges all chipped away is that I used an old flathead screwdriver and a mallet to get some chunks out of the wood in the seat. And then I also used my hammer to distress it. I banged it around, and then I also used a wire attachment for my drill. So tons of different things. Use what you have, just bang it up and then sand it, because once you bang it up, it's going to be like a splinter waiting to happen. I also use my hand to rock my sander around the edges. That helped if you have any areas where your pocket holes, like if you've got a little bit of a lip on the end, just sand it down. No worries. Doesn't have to be perfect, especially with the vibe we're going for. Then I measured after I sanded everything down and started to assemble. Here's a super quick way to figure out where to put your legs. I measured 7 inches up from the bottom, made this line. Then I measured 2 inches from either side. Then that way, all you have to do is take your leg and the outside of it lines up with that L. It's hard to do one-handed, but it lines up with that L right there. So then that way you know right where to put it for your bench, and it'll be the same on all 4 pieces. So I'm taking same size pocket hole screws, attaching the legs. And I did one side, put both of them in, did the other side, and then I did the other 2 legs. Now, again, if you don't want to do the pocket holes, you can line these up and go straight through the top of the seat, especially if you've got like gold or darker like
screws, you can do that. And especially if you're adding a blanket or something, nobody's gonna know. So you don't have to get a Kreg jig for this, but I do like it. I popped in my braces and I had to use a smaller bit to get my drill in there, so just FYI. Then I grabbed a new stain, which if you are a craft buddy for a long time, you will know I usually use the same colors, but I decided to use this golden oak because it matched very closely to the color of our table in our dining room, which is where I'm going to put this. Stained the whole thing, let that dry, and then I went through with this triple thick polyurethane, 2 coats on the seat to make sure it was nice and protected. You can definitely protect the legs, but I was more worried about the seat being protected, so I didn't like scratch it if I put decor on it. Also, you want to make sure that when you're staining, you are putting stain within the crevices, because if not, you'll just have unfinished wood and it won't look reclaimed. So make sure you flood the stain into those openings, and then you are good to go. This thing is sturdy. I sat on it and I am not a little individual and it held me up, so that is a good thing if you wanted to use it like next to a table. But I plan on styling it with this Walmart blanket and just some fun little trinkety things in our dining room to make it functional decor. We can pull it out and use it if people need to sit, and then put it back when we don't need it.
I hope you enjoyed today's video and you are leaving with a ton of ideas for your own home. Be sure to head down to the comments and let me know your favorite project in today's video. And also while you're down there, expand the description to learn more about Craftsy and to grab that deal. Remember, the first 1,000 craft buddies to use that link will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. Under $2, but it's only the first 1,000 craft buddies, so be sure to act quick if you're interested in that. A huge thank you to Craftsy for sponsoring today's video. A huge thank you to you for watching. And real quick before you leave, if you're not already subscribed and you want to join the Craft Buddies, be sure to do so you don't miss a future video. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!